Hello everyone, today we're very excited to have the very talented Esther Kim Nelson, who is the founder of Aurora Ministry. Hey, welcome to Pathforward podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is really exciting.
Oh, I'm very
and
honored.
A little nerve-wracking, but it's okay.
I'm just actually very honored to have you here. I'm very excited to talk about this, a very intriguing story for me actually. So, I think you're the only guess that really we have to go back to talk about your birth even.
Okay.
You're the only person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So, where were you born actually?
I was born in Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii.
Okay, so you were born in Hawaii. Okay. And what was your parent doing actually?
Well, my parents were missionaries in that time, and that's why we ended up in Hawaii, because they were full-time missionaries serving in Korea and then went to join an organization called YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And they were leading a short-term mission schools called Discipleship Training School, or DTS. And they were there for about 2 years serving there. And I was born on the tail end of it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So people always ask, oh, you got to live in Hawaii, or you're born in Hawaii? And I'm like, I was only there for like 10 months.
And you don't remember anything.
Exactly. So what's the joy in that?
Yeah. Okay. So like what you said, like since your parents are missionary, you were raised in a missionary family. So what was the environment like?
The environment in that time, in that moment that's all I knew. So it was just normal living. I go to school, I go to church, I go make friends. But then realizing as I get older, we pray every single day and we have intercession prayer time. We're going to conferences with mom and dad, or going on mission trips or traveling. And then you realize later, like, this isn't normal in terms of when you start to get into an age of conversing with your friends and they're just saying, oh yeah, we're just at home, we're hanging out, we're going to go to the movies. And here I am saying, we got to go to this like conference or this worship, like a worship thing or event, and realizing, like if I think back now, I go, it was quite eventful. Like it was busy. It was, people were always around. Yeah, that's what I remember.
So like around other people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The people that like, your parents served.
It was basically church 24/7. Let's just say that. Think about it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and also though, how did your parents' work shape your understanding for purpose, faith, and life direction in general?
Well, I think in it, again, like when you're in it, you don't realize what they're shaping, molding, teaching, imparting. And it's more, I think, when you become an adult and you start to understand a little bit more about life, in reflection, I go, wow, so many wonderful gifts that they've actually imparted in me in terms of life lessons, especially in the area of faith, right? So whether that's, I remember my mom every day, my sister and my brothers at times, we would sit down every single day at 7 p.m. and we would have a time of prayer and a time of learning to hear God's voice, a time of being in the Word. And we did this every single day. So my mom taught me how to pray. And then with my dad, it was more about observing him and observing his lifestyle, observing his commitment to the ministry or to the work that he was doing for God. And in that, I just saw a man who was just devoted to his call and devoted to his purpose. And yes, there were sacrifices in that. Naturally, we as children, we get hurt because there's neglect or absence of a father. But I look back and I go, wow, like to see it from his perspective, what a difficult life he lived, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Or what a lonely life he lived, yeah.
But how about in the life direction area? Do you think it changed your life direction or how you plan your life? I mean, as a teenager, though, not now. Not now, it's like a 30, 40 years old.
No. Like, I think I have to make this point. My parents, like growing up as an immigrant family in Canada, we make comments, right? Especially amongst Asian people, we say, the typical Asian family upbringing, or the typical Korean parents. Sorry to all the Korean families, I'm sorry to make that stereotype. But one of the things my parents did not do was live a culture of like just Korean traditions or like, I expect to see like A's in all your studies or let me see your report card. My parents were actually very free. Okay. So they gave us a lot of freedom to be ourselves, to discover our passions, to discover our talents and our giftings. And they weren't quick to say no. And I think they were more just, they were quite open to, because I think they understand this concept of identity, purpose, calling, destiny, all of that, right? And so, and because they also teach it too, I think that's what they were trying to implement even in our teenage years. So it was never, I don't ever remember my parents being these parents who are always strict and restrictive and, putting on their agenda, like projecting their agenda onto us. It was actually, we had quite a free childhood and upbringing.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I think about it, yeah. Okay. So.
But then, what is important to them though? As like they raise their child. What kind of character they're looking for?
Like a character that describes or reflects like biblical, like faith and biblical character. And I think it's always just been about live a life of knowing who God is, live a life of intimacy with your faith and with him and having a personal relationship. I think it's more about, just good morals, good principles, good ethics, and like following Christ and everything that we do. And so I remember it's always read your word, but it wasn't like read your Bible because I'm telling you to. Like they were good enough to explain to us why. Like they were good enough to always give us a taste or an example or an encounter, right? So it's like read the Bible for this and for these reasons. We pray because of this, and then we actually get to see the fruition of those prayers. So it's not like, it was never religious. And I think that's what I really appreciate from my parents of what they imparted and given to us was what they spoke about or what they tried to teach us or implement. They were living it out. So it was very easy to kind of model after those values,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you have mentioned it already. Obviously, your parents have give you a lot of valuable lesson or or gift in a sense, not physical gift, But what has been the most valuable thing you feel they have given you?
I think they gave me the most privileged life.
Can you explain a little bit more of that?
Yes. As much as I could say, what did our parents give us? And I could say they gave me an inheritance or they gave me opportunities. But I think why I say it's privileged life is because they sown faith in myself and in my siblings from birth, right? And I, with all my heart, believe that it is a faith journey, and all of our calling is to know the Father and to know Christ. And so I say it's a privileged life because I've known that from a very, very young age. And so it was never this discovery of through heartache or through rebellion, but it was never this journey of, like confusion. I mean, naturally life does happen, so that does exist, but the privilege is pretty much they introduced Christ and faith and purpose, all of that, because I believe that all of that is encompassing in God. And so because that was revealed to us at such a young age and throughout all of our upbringing, I mean, I would say that's probably what they gave us.
Okay.
Or me, yeah.
Yes. But if you would give like a concrete more, I know this is a loaded question.
No, that's...
But I mean, like, if you would give like a very concrete kind of explanation, what is the life of following God like, in your opinion?
It's the very reason we're created. I think it's, I have to think about how you just asked that. Like, it's, what I've come to realize is in life, I think we all want this, right? We want to know, what's my purpose? Like, what am I doing here on this earth? What actually satisfies? And and meets my desires, my dreams, my hope, my future, right? All of these things. And naturally, we go after them through studies, through careers, through finances, all of that. But if I was to really just break it down and go, if I look back in reflection of my life, the entirety of my life, I don't want to get to like the tail end of my life and go and have regrets or go, oh, this actually had no value. Why did I waste all my time doing this and working so hard? And yet it results to what? Like there's emptiness in that. And I think sometimes we can talk about like even finances or making money can kind of lead us with this ambition and this goal and this pursuit of we need to be successful, right? But I think for me, what I've realized is that, but I think the greatest success in life is to know my maker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's, I guess, to be concrete, but yet, I'm sorry, like
I
it
think
is
that's
being
very
such a
concrete,
spiritual like answer, but I think it really is in life is like he is the purpose, right? Is he's the one that created me, and when he created me, he had a thought of my personhood, a thought of my a thought of my giftings, a thought of my talents, a thought of what my future would look like, a thought of how I would be raised and what house, all of these things when he created me, right? And I just go, wouldn't I want to know like that whole process? Wouldn't I want to know the inventor or the creator and go, what were you actually thinking when you made me? And then to be able to reflect and go, I figured it out. I did do exactly I figured out what your plan, your idea, your purpose, your intentions actually were for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Rather
I
than
understand.
living in regret and going,
What have I done?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. You eventually, I mean, you grow up in Toronto. Your parents moved back to Toronto, and then you live in Vancouver for your high school year. Eventually, you went back to Ontario for university, studying fine art and installation.
Yeah.
So at that point, so probably you were in your early 20 or like late
teen. Yeah, I was 19.
19 or 20 years old.
Yeah.
What was your goal in life in that point?
I actually shared this with my daughter today, and she because she was asking some of these some questions, and I was just like, so she was hearing some things for the first time, and I said, at that time and moment, my goal was to get away. My goal was to escape, because I just hated life in Vancouver. I hated. The pressure of needing to know what I was going to do with my life. So I just thought, you know what? Like, I don't want to live under the pressure of my parents. Not that they ever did, but even like my social settings. Everyone else is going to university, studying this. They had it so clear in their head what they were pursuing. I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a teacher. Like, so they were going after what they knew so clearly and confidently. And I remember in that time, I didn't know, if I'm being really honest. I knew that I had an interest in art. I knew that I was really good with my hands. I love the creative process. And I had just enough information about myself to go, I think I will pursue art school. And then it was also encouraged by my teacher too. So that helped. But if I'm being really honest, I just wanted to get out of here.
Okay.
It was an escape,
Yeah, but mission was not in your plan.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Ministry was not an option for me. So in my high school years, I remember I'd just be walking down the streets with my friends and always making not even with my friends, sorry, but we'd talk about future, talk about success, and one day we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, we're gonna travel here, but I remember even to myself, I went, I just want to be successful in life, and I don't want to live a life that my parents lived.
But successful, like financially,
Worldly,
Worldly.
maybe, financially, in social settings, in every way, right?
Okay.
Everything that you see as a
successful person.
successful person, I guess,
Okay. Now, and that's the other interesting thing happened is you had an opportunity to join an exchange program in the last year of university.
Yes.
So how did you secure this opportunity to go to Italy I mean, like, and like, how did you find the finance to support yourself for that?
Okay. I'll be honest. Remember I said I wanted an escape, right?
Yeah.
One of the, because I was looking at Emily Carr to do it here in Vancouver, right? And I went, no, like it's home still, right?
Yeah.
But I remember when I looked at the at Ontario College of Arts and Design, I saw that in their website or their their package, application package, it had talked about the 1 year, abroad in Italy. But in that moment, I remember something in my heart just got so excited when I read that. And that was probably the very moment that I realized my heart and my desire for the nations. And just this interest that piqued me was an opportunity to just travel the world. And so that's actually why I chose Ontario, was because of actually this program. And it doesn't happen until you're in third year. And so I just went, okay, we're going to do this. And third year, we're going to Italy. Like, we are definitely applying for this program. Yeah. And so that's the mindset that I initially went with. And then second year, we had the opportunity. So students that were interested, you have to do a portfolio interview. And I remember in that second year, so you have to understand, my first year of university and second year, I really found faith again. Right? I just really found my relationship with God again. And so it was such a sweet, sweet season of my life, because everything I did, I knew that I wanted to do it with God, right? And so when the Italy opportunity came up, I remember going into my interview and I said, God, I really want this. And I don't think I've ever expressed in my life my desire. And I remember praying that prayer as I was going in. God, I just so desperately want to go. And then I did my interview. And then a month later, I got the acceptance letter. But with it, so the cost of this 1 year program is $20,000 plus living expenses, right? So I look at the letter, the package letter, and I'm going, I don't have $20,000. Like, I'm not going to ask my missionary parents to, dish up $20,000 for me. So I remember thinking, and I went, I hear all these stories about like people who fast. Like when they fast for something because they want breakthrough in something. But I remember like just having this conviction of, God, I'm going to fast. I really feel that doesn't need to fast. But I said, I'm not going to ask you for money. I'm not going to ask you like the $20,000. I'm not going to ask of anything. But I just want to fast simply with this idea or this purpose of, God, I just want to know you more. And I just want to be with you more and commune with you. And it was during my finals, during my finals that I did this
That's probably
fast.
not a good idea, by the way.
It was not a good idea. But I did a 10-day water fast, okay? Like during my finals. But the amazing thing was how clear my mind was. I mean, yes, I was losing weight, like the benefits of fasting. Sorry to say that, but I was losing weight. So you would think I'd be weaker. And I'm working in like the woodworking room, like the bronze casting room. So I was feeling physically weak, and yet so strengthened too. And so clear-minded that when I was doing my finals, it was easy. It came easy. And then on the 10th day of my fast, my dad was at a conference in Guatemala. And in that time that he was there, so he was there for a week, let's just say, and every time he does a conference or he does his teaching, he'll always introduce his family, right? And so I guess maybe he put up a photo of us, I don't know. But this lady came up to him on the first night and said, could you tell me a little bit more of your family and specifically your daughter, and pointed at me. And so my dad kind of shared with her like, oh, my daughter's in Toronto. She's studying art. She's really wanting to go to Italy for this program. And then this woman just kind of got really excited for me and just said, how can I help? Right? And then my dad just went, wow, like, thank you so much. Appreciate that. But you don't know me. You don't know my family. Like, before you jump the gun, let's just get to know each other during this conference. Right? So then, so the whole week goes by and this lady asks my dad, can I take you to the airport? Can I drop you off? My dad says, sure. And on their ride to the airport, she pretty much says to my dad, I really feel like I can trust this daughter of yours, or I'm just being pulled by her. And I feel that I am called to support her. So I will give her whatever she needs in order for her to go to Italy. And so this woman wrote me a check for $20,000.
Wow.
Paid for my living expenses, and then paid for the rest of my tuition for a 4th year.
Wow.
And so this is her dropping my dad off on the airport. But you have to understand, when he was in Guatemala, he had a stopover in Toronto. And this is now my 10th day of my fast. And he calls me up and says, I'm here for a few hours. Let's meet up. So we meet up at a cafe. And he just asked the question, why are you fasting? And I said, because I love God. And then he goes, I remember he goes, well, yeah, like God really loves you. And I go, I know. And I remember just saying it so confidently. I'm going, I know he does that. And then he just starts to share what I just shared with you about his conference in Guatemala. And he goes, he's so good that he would send this complete stranger of a woman to pay off your trip to go to Italy. So I received a check or a deposit in my account of $20,000 and off I went through the provision of some lady in Guatemala. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by JW Music Studio. We offer piano and guitar lesson in both group and private setting. Group lesson is a great way to ignite a student's musical interest. It offers engaging activities that will reinforce specific skill sets. Ensemble playing will strengthen their rhythmic feeling and listening abilities. Most of all, they will experience the joy of making music with others. Contact us to find out our available schedule. Yeah, and of course, you went to Italy.
Yes.
And after all the university done, you went to a discipleship training school.
Yes.
In Australia.
Right.
But first of all, we did talk about what led you to that decision first. Why you went to a discipleship training school.
To do okay. Talk about Korean parents, right? And how they're not the typical Korean parents.
Yeah.
So you would think that parents save up for their children's college fund. My parents did not save up for a college fund for us. They saved up for us to go do a discipleship training school. The very school that they were leading back when I was born in Hawaii, as I explained.
Yeah.
So they were leading these 6-month schools. And so the ask was, Esther, you need to go do one of these schools. But we've always known it because we grew up in it, right? And so it was just a matter of when. So I remember my sister and I, we both did not want to do this, but we knew we had to. And time was ticking away. So we're like, we got to get it done. And so she decided, she went to Montana. I chose Australia. Okay. Because I just wanted to go far away as possible from family or from anyone that knows my parents. I just wanted to just separate and disassociate, right? And I remember going to the airport and saying to my sister, I'll see you in 6 months. Let's just get this done and over with, and we'll see each other in 6 months. And so that's how we went. My experience there, very different from the idea that I had of just going with the intentions of, sure, let's just go do this missions thing and see what it's like, versus the experience, which was where God really, as we talk about calling, purpose, it was then in that moment that he actually called me. He actually gave me deeper understanding and insight and knowledge and just words to encourage this very calling of mine that I was actually denying and escaping from.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were not planning to be a missionary, so
no, not at all.
So what was your attitude like? When you first?
Oh my gosh, my first week in Australia, I remember my attitude was this. Well, all these 19-year-olds who think they just love cheat, it was just so, it was such a poor, prideful attitude of, it was evident that I did not want to be there, right? And I remember in that first week, one of the speakers just called me out and said to me, "You, stop standing on the sidelines and watching and observing. But God's calling you to come into clear focus and come and join and be a part of this community." And so, but then that made me even more angry, right? Like, I'm like, who do you think you are to call me out like that? But anyways, she just, upfront called me out and called out my attitude and the way, my body language, all of it. But she saw right through it, like right through me. And then through a little bit of processing and wrestling, I just had a moment of, like I'm here. Yeah. Like I'm here for 6 months. Like I can either sulk for 6 months or just embrace it. And so there was a shift in my attitude after that first week. And I just went, okay, God, what do you want to say? Okay. What do you want to do?
Then what do you think is the biggest change in your plan and your perspective in life through this 6 months in Australia?
I knew the value and purpose of life. And what I mean by that is you have to remember, like I went from saying, I don't ever want to be a missionary. I never want to live this lifestyle. I want to be successful. But a lot of that comes from not having what everyone else had, right? My life was different, I guess. Yeah. But it was me saying, but what's the point in all of that? It was really just having a moment of asking that question of what's the point in all of that? And I remember during my DTI, like the school, reading a lot of books of just courageous stories of people that were, I don't know, like sharing the gospel, like in areas or countries that, it's death. Like the punishment is death, or people that were smuggling, like in Russia, right? Like smuggling Bibles. And I just went, or even people dying for the faith, like martyrs. And there was something in me that went, I'm so curious. Like, why are these people so committed to sharing the gospel or bringing Bibles and smuggling it at the risk of their lives? So what is it that they figured out and discovered that they're so in love and passionate about that they would risk life? And so for me, in kind of studying, reading, and understanding more of just faith, I remember praying that prayer. I want that. I want that kind of passion and that love for something greater than having a nice house or having the comfort of this world. But just, you know what I mean? Like something that we can actually like speak life and death over. You know what I mean? Like that's the cause, that's the purpose behind it. Oh, and I realized, it's faith.
That is rather big, actually. Now,
I don't want to be a martyr, though.
Just saying.
Just saying. I remember how I said that. I was like, God, I take it back.
Maybe not that. Okay. Now, but then after that, interestingly, you worked in Los Angeles after that, actually. And you were like, I don't know, half the time of your life, maybe. Like, so how did that opportunity come about, and what did you take away from that season?
So after Australia, I thought I was going to come back. So I knew that I was called to be a missionary or to be in some sort of ministry, right? And so I came back home with this excitement of, Mom, Dad, I figured it out. I'm being called to missions and to be a missionary. So you know what? I'm going to go back to Australia and I'm going to lead these schools too. And I remember their response was, no, we don't want that for you. Esther, you studied and you went to school, like go do something with it. Don't be so quick and haste to just go into the mission field. But I understood in that moment it was because they understand and they recognize what a difficult life that is. And so they're looking at me going, don't choose that just yet. It wasn't out of them saying really no, but it was just saying, first go do something with your life. And so then through a friend of my dad, he had these connections in Guatemala. And so there's a man working out there who does apparel business and was looking for someone to pretty much expand his brand. And he wanted to expand and start and station himself in California, in LA, because a lot of his clients were there. And so he just said, oh, your daughter, like she just graduated. She's done arts and sculpture. So she would have a fine, refined taste, I guess. And so he pretty much recruited me and invited me to come to LA. But here's the funny thing, Jackie, like when I was there, like, it's not that I had fun. I had everything that I hoped and dreamed of. Yeah. I was living in Beverly Hills. I was driving a nice like Lexus SUV. Like I was single. Like I was young, like 24. Like it felt like I had everything that I remember as my 16-year-old self that said, I want the success in life. And here I am actually getting a taste of it. But I remember, and literally, because I was only there for like 4 months maybe, I remember every single night crying in the shower because I didn't want anyone to hear me, but crying in the shower and going, God, I don't want this. But then, so the day that I remember like leading up to the day that I had to tell my boss I'm going to quit, I just remember just in my prayer going, God, thank you so much for your goodness and your faithfulness that you would allow me to, or you would give me an opportunity to know what this life would be like. Because I wanted it, right? But he gave me a taste for it to the point where now I can choose it. And I can go, I don't want this. And I actually really want this life of ministry and missions and traveling the world and seeing the nations and cultures and bringing the good news of the gospel. And so that was a moment for me that was such a clear revelation or epiphany of, wow, what I once wanted, no thank you. But this is what I'm choosing now. And that's why I say that to make a point of this. I really believe that the gift of choice is such, like I use the word gift because it is a gift. Like it's a powerful moment that you can have with yourself when you choose it versus it's the right thing to do or out of obligation. And that was my moment to say, I choose this life and this path. Yeah.
You actually went back to Australia again. I would imagine a different area, right?
No. I went back to
at the same base. At the same base. Okay. So you try to become a staff at the discipleship training school after this Los Angeles period. So what did that role involve? Like what do you need to do as a staff? And what do you learn about yourself when you're being a staff there?
Well, it's just so you know, Youth with a Mission, it's all self-fundraised, right? So you need all your own finances in order to go, and you have to do support raising, which is a challenge in itself, but we won't go there. But so everyone, they're all volunteers that are showing up to this organization. And initially I was thrown into the kitchen. And so I was working in the kitchen, making meals for 200 people on the base, doing events. And so that was kind of me just kind of using my hands that I love to do. And I love cooking too anyways. So that's where I was initially serving. But my desire was to staff schools, to do the discipleship training school where I get to be in a position of mentoring or discipling somebody. So that was the desire. And then maybe 3 months in, I finally got to actually staff a school. And then that was the school that I met my husband.
Yes, that's where you met Greg.
Yes.
But then what did you learn though when you're mentoring these students who went to the discipleship school?
There's two things I learned, okay? The first thing was I remember in that first week of being in the kitchen, I remember complaining and going, why am I in the kitchen? This is not where I want to be. Like, why am I in the kitchen when I should be in the lecture room and doing one-on-one sessions with students? Yeah. But I remember God just spoke so clearly, and he said, Esther, I'm calling you to learn how to serve. Learn how to serve people. Learn how to just serve, like selflessly serve. And I remember him saying, I want you in this year, just learn that and freely give. So that was the first lesson that I had to learn through working in the kitchen. I was like, okay, sure. The second lesson that I really learned out of that is, which actually speaks of where I'm at today, but what I actually love. So yes, I love nations and I love traveling and I love the idea of missions and God and all of that. But like in terms of what I personally love and what I bring was doing one-on-one sessions with all the students. And I just loved sitting with them, hearing their story, being able to encourage them, being able to challenge them, maybe even at times correct them, but really to support them, champion them, and just walk alongside them for the 3 to 6 months and go after the very thing that I found, which was calling and purpose. And I say that to say, not that everyone has the calling and purpose to, do missions like me. That wasn't the point. But let's figure that out through getting to know each other, through just let me see like what are the natural talents that are coming out of your giftings that I'm seeing, and just being able to speak those things out to them. So I just loved one-on-one sessions.
Okay.
I loved hearing people's stories.
So
kind of like what you're doing.
Yeah, but what did the student respond to you?
I say this in the most humblest way, but I remember in the one-on-one session, because there was multiple staff, right? And we were all allotted about 5-6 students per staff, right? Because you can only handle so many. But I noticed that other students and other staff would ask to do one-on-ones with me. And I just went, oh, okay, sure. Like, I'm not going to deny a person who wants to spend time with me, right? And then I realized by the end of that school, I had a few people just say, as you're doing the graduation, when you graduate, you just go around and you kind of like share stories of or gratitude, expressing gratitude and thankfulness to one another. And I remember a few people saying, Esther, like my time spent with you changed my life. And I just went, whoa, like that's a big statement. I don't think I can think of many people that I would say and go up to them and say, wow, like what you said or what you did changed my life. And so in that moment, I was overwhelmed with obviously my own gratitude, but just went, God, I think there's something here. Because if it has that kind of impact or that kind of influence, then there's something here for me. Yeah.
So that's what you discovered, kind of.
Yeah, I guess
right?
so.
Yeah, then, of course, right, you met Greg there. You then enter a new season.
Yes.
Marriage.
Yes.
Moving between cities, like Vancouver, Nashville, I think you went to, right?
Yes.
Raising children. You have 2 daughters. Serving in the church. So it's a season of a lot of changes. So what were some of the unseen challenges and growth moments during that chapter of your life of moving in Vancouver and living in Nashville and all that?
Motherhood, being a mother, was extremely hard. And putting a pause on what I thought was my desire, my passion, my dreams, because we had to leave the mission field, right? To go get married. And then, one thing leads to another. Like Greg, we had to pay off some debt, like student loan debt. And then I got pregnant, had children, and then we moved back to Vancouver. And I remember just being in a state of shock with my first daughter, because no one really told, I don't think we talk about this enough, but nobody really told me about the struggles and the challenges of transition, right?
Yeah.
Because to be a wife is one thing, right? To get married, that we know that has transition in itself. But to be a mother, like that came as a shock, actually. And realizing all of a sudden, I am putting a pause. And I know it sounds so selfish, but I think that's part of what motherhood is, or being a parent is a life of selflessness, right? And at times sacrifice. And I remember just watching my husband fulfill what felt like my dream and traveling the world and doing ministry stuff. And I was at home raising a child, which, don't get me wrong, I loved it. Don't get me wrong in that. But there was a part of me that just felt the ache of, like, it's not fair. Like, I feel like I'm missing out. So I remember saying to God, like, I would be willing to take my child and go and serve. Like, why won't you release us as a family to go serve? But I remember God just saying, not yet. The time is not yet. But I've given you a child as a gift to, you so desperately want to go and disciple people, right? That you think you're so good at. But I've given you the greatest gift, which is your own daughter that you're called to disciple. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. But it doesn't mean that I didn't have to go through the emotions and that whole process of saying it was a struggle. It was hard.
At JW's Music Studio, we offer more than just music lessons. We also nurture future leaders in music education. Our Piano Teacher Apprenticeship Program is an initiative designed for advanced piano students who are ready to take the next step from student to teacher. This program provides a structured, supportive pathway into music teaching. Participants are mentored through every stage, from interview and training to guided teaching and independent lessons, all while being compensated as they grow. Whether your teen is exploring a career in teaching or simply wants to deepen their connection to music, this program offers real-world skills in a safe, encouraging environment. Contact us today at jnwmusic@yahoo.ca. It's hard. So it's kind of like a moment of pause, a chapter of like you kind of stay in one place, stay in put, and just
and that was hard because you have to understand, we moved every 2 years or every year growing up as a kid, and even for Greg, he moved around a lot too. So for us to now be stationed in a place for over 2 years, like that was an adjustment too.
Yeah. You stay in Vancouver for how long?
We were here for about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 6-7 years.
So by the time, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, by the time you go south of France, then Chiara will be 7 years old, is that right?
Yeah, Chiara was 7.
Okay.
Was she 7 or was she 6? She was 6, sorry. Maybe it was 6 years, yeah.
Okay. Yes, which is exactly the next thing I'm going to ask eventually. After 7 years, you moved to south of France.
Yeah.
Actually, where did you go? What's the place called?
Oh, Saint-Hippolyte-du-Fort is a village name, but it's like locationally, like it's my God, right here. No, it's I'm just thinking of major cities like Nîmes or Montpellier.
Okay.
It's a small little village or a little town.
Okay.
Of maybe like 3,000-5,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So still kind of far from Lyon, I would think.
Yes, it would be a couple-hour train ride from Lyon.
Okay, because that's the only southern France city that I know, right? You know, not that I'm that great, but that's the only place I know, like the big city of like south of France, right? But anyway, so how did this opportunity come about, and what was your mission and vision going into this season?
I think with that we had a season of waiting.
Yeah.
Right, a season of waiting. And I just remember, well, I'll kind of share this real quick, right? To kind of lead up to why we chose this location. And it goes back all the way to when I did my discipleship training school. Remember when my sister and I parted ways and my poor attitude that time. We do outreach. And what outreach is where you go to a country abroad and you serve. And we did that in an island called Vanuatu. And we did that for 3 months. And the property that we're staying at was also a YWAM base. And so there were students, there was a school happening, and you get speakers come in every week that teaches on different subjects. And there's this one teacher who had come to speak, and for breakfast, our team, we would always have breakfast, and then we'd go about the day doing whatever the ministry was. But then who was speaking at the school, he was also there in this hut, and we're all having our breakfast. And he just looked over and said hello and kind of just exchanged a friendly, warm, like, hello, right? And so then that led to him just sharing his dream and his passion to one day open up a vocational training center in the south of France. And he started to describe it, right, of what him and his wife was wanting. And I remember in everything that he shared, I went, he just put into words what I've always wanted. And never knew how to express it, but he just said it. And I looked at him and I said, I want that. What you just said, I want that. And he goes, well, okay. Well, why don't we pray? Let's just pray. And we'll just leave it at that. So he prayed and he said, God, if there's an opportunity for this young woman and I to work together one day, we give it to you. And that was it. And we said, bye. He gave me his business card. Never saw this man again or exchanged anything again, right? When I was pregnant with Chiara, Greg came across a article about some girl working in the south of France, working in this kitchen and serving, and she was just describing it in such a way where I guess Greg just thought, Esther, like this is something that would interest you. So he says, you need to read this article. And I just looked at him and something in my spirit remembered, like the guy that I met at that point, maybe it was 8 years ago or 10, I don't know. And I just went, I mean, you just go like, is that coincidence or is that divine, right? And I went, and so then I started to share with Greg what I'm sharing with you right now. And so then we reached out to this couple and they're like, yeah, come on. But then the timing wasn't right because I was pregnant with Kiara. But then fast forward now 6 years, and there was a point in Greg and I, in our life, in our situation. I mean, Greg was working, we had our second daughter. And I just went, I feel like our time has come to an end. I just had this weird gut feeling of transitions coming, and let's not overstay our welcome here. And so I just knew. And so Greg and I, we shared, we discussed, we looked for every other opportunity. And finally we just went, I think this is it, like going to this place in the south of France. And then we asked him, what would you have us do? And he said, we need leaders to lead discipleship training schools, which is exactly what Greg and I always wanted to do. And also it's about hospitality. It's about life around the table. That was the theme of this school. So it just hit everything, like check mark, and everything that we were looking for. So then that was the moment we made that decision of we're going to this place specifically. And so that led us there to lead schools there.
Yeah. So what was your vision and mission for there though?
It was simple. It was really simple. It was, let's just go and bless these people.
Oh.
Let's just go and be a blessing. Like as a family, let's be a blessing. And when we went, I remember one of the things that Greg and I discussed was this place wasn't our forever place. Because I had a dream, right? Like I had this hope and this desire to actually have our own center, the way that he described his one in France, but in Italy, which goes back to even my love and taste for Italy because of that exchange program that I did. And I just knew that there's something about Italy that God was calling me to. And so I just felt like at least we have doors open to go into Europe. But France wasn't the destination. It was just the stepping stone. And so that's how we went. So we just said, let's just serve these people really well, bless them, and trust that God will open up another door that would lead us to the destination, which is in Italy.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
But then things didn't really go as planned, I guess. Yeah. Can you walk us through what happened eventually?
Sure. Eventually, after a year and a half of being there, serving the staff, serving schools, pretty much we became, we weren't wanted. Okay, and I have to say this, okay, and I say this in the most humblest way, is what I've learned, life lesson I've learned is this: when you serve, right, you have influence. When you serve somebody, there's impact. And I think it's so funny because even I'm just processing this myself. I realized serving others, it has become my foundation. But because of that, what ends up happening, so our time in France, I would serve meals, invite people all the time. Like we would have guests coming 4-5 times out of a week because we're just serving them meals, listening to their story, praying with them, caring for them. But it had so much impact that people just kept coming to us for advice, for counsel, all of these things. And what was happening on the property, there was a little bit of dysfunction going on from what we observed. And it wasn't to the point where we were challenging it. It was just us wanting clarity. So what we did was we started asking questions. Like, what's the vision of this place? Why do we do what we do? And does it pertain to the vision? So that's really like just simple questions so that we had better understanding in order to better serve, right? But that turned into, why are you questioning us? And then the next thing you know, we had all the staffs asking us the same thing. But we weren't on leadership or anything like that. So we just kept telling everyone else, go talk to them. Like, we don't have the answers for you, but go talk to them. But that in turn turned into, wow, all these other staffs are asking the same questions as Greg and Esther. What kind of influence and what is Esther and Greg feeding these people? But it was never that. That was never our intention. And so that was, I think, what was so painful for us was we were misunderstood. And because we were misunderstood, as a result of that, we were rejected and falsely accused to the point where we had to leave. And I remember leaving so broken that, I just started stressing in every way and anxiety in every way. And I just said to Greg, we have to go home. I can't be here anymore. And I remember when we came home, I remember, like, I couldn't even go to church. I couldn't even read the Bible. I couldn't do anything because I was just in a state of shock of how does a community of believers reject when my heart and my attitude and the cost of bringing my children to was simply just to serve and to be a blessing. And so this is where the story is funny, because we ran into you. Right? Remember,
I just do an embarrassing story.
No,
okay?
It's not embarrassing. It speaks so much to just how much of a role you did play in our testimony, because we came back so broken, we just wanted to hide. Like, we didn't even want to go to church or anything or see anybody because we felt embarrassed. We felt like we failed. And it was humiliating, I guess, in some ways. And also more than that, like, I didn't want to misrepresent God. I didn't want to misrepresent people who believe too, right? And so I was in this tension of like, okay, how do I protect the faith? But yet I've been so hurt by it too, right? And so we run into you, and we didn't know you very well then, right?
No, I didn't know you very well.
But we knew enough of who you were. We knew you went to our church.
Yeah.
But you literally started asking us questions, right? And you said, oh, what are you guys doing here? Like, are you guys back? Are you guys back for good? Are you guys going to go back? Are you guys staying? You know, like, you just asked these questions. And I remember in that moment, like, my heart just fluttered in panic and going in anger, actually. Yeah. And I went, but this is the very thing, God, that, like, I've been avoiding, because I don't have the answers, and I'm actually asking the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
And I was asking Greg, like, that was the conversation Greg and I would always have. I'm like, Greg, what are we doing here? Yeah. Are we here for good? Is this what life is for us? Like, what was the purpose of all that? And so, but your encounter that day on the street led to Greg going, we need help. And I went, you're right. I need help. Because this isn't one of those things where you pray it away or you put the Jesus sticker on it and go, Jesus will make it better. It was one of those moments of, oh my gosh, like, we actually need to seek help and heal. Because the conviction was, if I look back to those leaders, I'm like, to be in a leadership position is such a huge responsibility. But if you are not right with yourself and before God, you will, in most cases, unintentionally hurt others because you haven't dealt with your own junk. And I realized in that moment, God saying, Esther, if you don't deal with this and heal from this, you'll be no different. And the amount of damage and hurt you will cause other people because of your undealt issues, it's real. And you got a taste of that. So yes, go get help. So I had to suck and swallow my pride and go get help.
Yeah, with what's their name?
We did it with Paul and Ruth Orbeck, who were the
Orbeck,
missionary couple, that were also
okay.
attending our church.
Okay. So that's where you discovered the 12-step spiritual and wellness program, right? Correct. So for someone who's unfamiliar with that, can you explain what this program is about and how it works?
Okay, so the way that Paul and Ruth presented it, so they do wellness program. And it really is about like teaching people how to just be well within your soul, within just your life decisions, your behavior. And so this 12-step program is something that they've used for, I guess, decades. And so that's what they proposed to us. But really, like, the benefit for Greg and I with this couple was we had a safe space to just process and to share and dare to say the things that we would be so careful to say such things. To even express something like, I'm angry with God. Like, I'm struggling to trust him right now. Like, I would never dare to say that openly and publicly to, I don't know, I guess amongst other believers, because we feel shame in that, right? But it was just a moment to just be honest with myself and what I was feeling with Paul and Ruth. And they just gave us the space to do that. And we did it for about 7 months. And it was just, verbally processing our hurt from France, but also goes all the way back to our childhood too. So dealing with deeper issues. And what I realized was, and I'm still learning this right now actually, and processing and healing still, is how much what happened in France was just a trigger to a deeper wound, right? And so so that's kind of been my journey and our revelation of like why we did the 12 step and the outcome of it.
But if concretely put it though, like what does it reveal about you, and like what kind of things did you begin to understand, through this process of this program about yourself and the situation and all that?
I know this is going to be so corny, but I'm just going to say it. I actually learned, come back to my identity, because that was a little bit lost with the hurt, okay? Because I thought, because it was the question of when there's accusations made on you, you want to defend it. But you also go to this place of, wait a second, is it true? Like, was I the problem? Like, what did I do that was so wrong? And then you start to self-reflect and like, was I the one that was out of place? So there was a lot of just shaking of my identity. But the other thing was I realized how much, so the root issue with all of what happened in France that actually triggered childhood stuff, it's actually rejection and not acceptance of me, right? And so what I realized was, I learned to reject myself as a means to protect myself so that if people were to reject me, it won't hurt as much, right? Because I've already kind of embraced that. But so in that process, I've really come to learn to accept myself and then learn to love myself. So really, like, in the Bible, it says one of the greatest commandments is what? To love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love others as yourself. And I think the way I lived my life, and because of being in a household of ministry where we watched my parents serve people, what I learned from that was love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love others more than self. Because the right thing to do is always humble yourself, lay yourself down. But actually, what I was actually doing was being disobedient to that command and only keeping 2 of those things and not acknowledging the part where love yourself too. And I wasn't doing that.
Oh, wow, that's also very deep, actually. Now let's talk about the future now. Now you are going to start a new ministry, Aurora. Can you explain a little bit what's the heart behind it?
The heart behind it is the very story that I shared of our time in France. That's why I have to look at my pain in France and I have no regrets. I have only gratitude now. Because what Aurora is today cannot exist if I hadn't gone through what I went through. If I hadn't gone through the pain, but also the healing too. And that's what Aurora represents. But I remember just sitting down before God and saying, okay, God, I feel like I'm in a better place. I feel like I'm somewhat in a position now to step back into ministry. But I said, God, I want to do it differently. I said, I don't want to establish or pioneer a ministry that just speaks of your name and has good programs and a good setup and curriculum and try to expand it and take it to the world. Like, I was like, I have no ambition here, okay, if I'm being really honest. And I said, I want you to receive this. If I choose to do this, receive this first, which is, I want to do something where it's just an offering. Okay? Like, it's not a takeaway for me or a takeaway for my family. It's like, you know, when you're just so grateful for someone who would just take you in, accept you, embrace you for who you are. Like, you just want to give back to that, to someone who would do such a thing. And it's kind of like the same concept of, God, you are so good and so faithful that you would do all that you did, even in its hardship, for me to get to this place. So how can I give back to you? How can I serve you? And how can I offer back, give you an offering of just gratitude and praise? And so that's really how Aurora started.
Wow. Okay. Now, it's a common question that I ask in this podcast, which is, how would you define success in your life? You have experienced a lot, ups and downs, excitement, disappointment, and hurt, and also being loved, I think.
Yeah.
And also you have chosen a very different path. You know, I think most Korean family want them to be either lawyer or doctor.
Sure. Yeah.
Usually.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yes, I need to be careful, but it's kind of true. So after all of this, at this point of your life, how would you define what success is?
I know this was a hard one, actually. Because I even questioned, like, why are you asking me to do this podcast with you? Like, who am I? Like, that you would want to know my story in terms of what you're promoting here, what you're trying to, you know, the message that you're trying to share. But, you know, it was really just in reflection, even this morning, it goes back to what I said. I think success is knowing who you are and going back to that place of knowing my maker and my creator, and to go, like to fulfill his purpose in me and why he created me. And I really believe, because I believe in eternity, right? Eternity is what? It's ongoing, never ending, everlasting, infinite, right? Time. And if I look at then our time here on earth, if we live from 70 to 80, 90 years, in comparison to eternity, it's a blink of an eye. This is a moment, right? And for me, I go, if this is just a moment, then let's make this moment count. Let's make it matter. And so when I come before the Lord, when that day comes, and I always have this actual picture, visual, I go, I would imagine that there would be like a video recording of my life here on earth. And that I would sit with God or with Jesus and watch my video here on earth. And I want to be able to go, like him going, Esther, good job. Look what you did. And I just want to get that affirmation, right? Versus looking at him going, oh, sorry I did that. Oh, sorry. Oh, I know I should. Oh, I start cringing at the thought of what scene's about to come up. And I kind of have that visual for the sake of myself to just go, let's make this moment, which is just a blink of an eye. If suffering comes, so let it come. If hardship comes, so let it come. If celebration comes, amazing. If joyous moments come, amazing. But in everything that I do, what I define as success is I did it with him. And I did it with the Creator.
Wow, I think to that note, I think we will end here. That is a very good answer. Oh, man. Yeah, I think you're the first guest that make me kind of want to cry too. I really hope.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the tissues and all of that, but
I really hold my tears too. But anyway, thanks so much for spending your time and answer all these questions. It was to me still is a very intriguing story. Thanks to be here.
Thanks.
Yeah.